Welcome to the HU Move Makers podcast, where we highlight folks that are blazing the trail and making moves in Howard culture. All right, welcome to the HU Move Maker podcast, where we highlight Howard folks that are blazing the trail and making moves. Today we got a special guest, man. I don't think I've had one dancer, but I haven't had any pole dancers. So this pole dancer, international, global, over 10 years of experience. CryStylez, Belcher. Man, you can catch her on tour with Snoop Dogg. Man, 2006 graduate from the School of C. Bison Cheerleader from 02 to 04. Phi Sigma Pi cheerleading coach from 05 to 09. Women's Intramural Flag Football team. But man, she was on DJ Diplo Set It Off music video. Host of one of the world's largest international pole convention. Global instructor, choreographer, judge, competition producer. Man, what don't you do, CryStylez Belcher?
Hey.
Welcome to the
show. What up, though? How you doing, Josh?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for coming on. I thought it would be interesting to have a pole dancer. So that's different from a stripper, right?
Very much so. Well, in my particular journey, yes. But pole dancers flow from all different spaces, places, and voices of movement. So our stripper sisters and brothers are out there, and they are definitely a part of the family. And we, throw them up, holler at them the same way you would any of us in the fitness and performance realm.
So how did you get into pole dancing?
I had just moved back from DC in 2009. I was looking for different performance-based organizations in the city. And the one that I had auditioned for, unfortunately, they couldn't bring me on unless they brought in another male counterpart. So they could have a balanced team. And I was just kind of at a standstill. Didn't really know what I was just going to do physically because I've always been active. And when I started working for CBS Radio down here in Houston, a cohort of mine was doing PR for a local Black-owned studio. And she was like, yo, you should come to a class. It's only $10. The way you be talking around work, it looks like you want to, move a little bit, do something different. And I took a class. It was amazing. It pretty much encompassed everything physically that I had been, trained in for the wealth of my life, if you will. And it offered a new space for me, I guess when you just kind of highlight like the femininity side of it, just ownership of that, and incorporating, thematics, charisma, all those fun things about it. So I was like, yeah, I'm here for this. And just as I continued to grow into it, it just continued to compel me into different spaces and voices of movement and interpretations of the particular field. So that's how it started.
So this all started from somebody inviting you to come to a class.
Yeah. I mean, I had seen flyers and ads in the paper for particular studios in DC. I just didn't have the opportunity or the funds or the time to go make it happen. So when it came about at home, I was like, bet that. And, it was a Black-owned studio. I'm definitely about supporting our people and rooting for them. So I was like, might as well. I guess this is a sign.
So you worked at the radio station. What type of work were you doing?
I was in promotions, which was really enjoyable. The promotion sector of radio, for those who are not necessarily privy to it, are pretty much your faces out in the streets. We call those remotes. So you would see us under the gazebos with the radio station title. We're doing games. We're interacting. We're making you sign up for contests and all those things. Although I've been trained to actually be a DJ, I found it more compelling to actually be out on the street. So promotion was really fun.
Welcome to the Goldfish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, Give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Goldfish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. So you go to that class and you say, "Yo, this is what I want to do for a career." Does that light bulb go off? Like, how does that transition happen?
First of all, not at all. I was literally there for the sake of physical fitness and just growing up a little bit. And it was just fun. It was interactive. It reminded me of everything that I've did, from sports to dance to theater and everything of that sort. But it wasn't until the following year in 2010 that there was a boom in the people who were coming to the studio, and the owner just needed help because I have a background in coaching and choreographing, and I was well into the curriculum there. I was like, yo, I can help you with the intro people who were just coming in on the deals, just trying to check out the stuff. And then she can continue on with those who were a little bit further than I was. And that's how we kind of began that relationship. Once she saw that, she was like, yo, if you don't mind, I would love to bring you on as an apprentice and make you an instructor. So I was on a fast track. I became an instructor around month 6, and started taking workshops there. 2 months later, I had signed up for my first competition. So it just opened this door to not just teaching, which is dear to my heart, but it did showcase the competitive side. So now there was a way to apply everything that you learned in the studio and put it on stage in front of people to see who's the best of the best.
Wow. So it's got to be interesting, man, when you talk to people and they say, what do you do? Oh, I'm a insurance agent. Oh, I'm a teacher. Hey, I'm a pole dancer. How was that received?
So, and it's funny because it still kind of happens anytime I go to homecoming. People will whisper, especially if they know what I do. But for those newbies, first I come off as, I'm a dance and fitness instructor or a specialist, and people like try to say like, oh, so, we can go to the gym. I'm like, yes, I'm more on the alternative side. And alternative is not just pole, it's aerial. So if you see like silks or hammock, hoops, for those who work in Pilates, anything that is other than your normal gym space, you can consider that alternative fitness. So I open with that, and then they're like, oh, so what do you do? Then we go deeper. For those who are a little bit more progressive in thought, then I'm like, oh, well, I'm a pole and dance fitness instructor. And they're like, oh, what is that? Like, do you like strip or anything? I'm like, no, that's not me. It's not what I do. But let's not be remiss. I may have some strippers moonlighting in my class, which is always great because I'm here to technically make them more sound and hopefully make them more charismatic. So once they hit their stages, they can benefit completely. But ultimately, it is calisthenics. So being able to offer them information and breakdown of what I do really does soften the blow or the misconceptions of what pole dancing is. And when I say pole and dance, it's not just, I don't do everything just on the pole. Like I teach chair classes, I do floor classes, or floor choreography classes, if you will. There's flexibility. What is this? I do acro chair, which is like more flipping and acrobatic style movement on the chair rather than just, whipping your hair and bicycling your legs. So it's a well-rounded experience when you deal with me.
So I know strip clubs are popular in Houston. Is that
close.
is pole dancing just as popular?
There's upticks, and there's also just flows. Pole studios pretty much go with how fitness studios go, meaning at the beginning of the year, maybe like January is a little soft. That mid to late January into February, there's an upswing of clients that will come into our spaces and want to do the whole, oh, I just want to be, pretty, do a dance, for my friend or for myself. So we'll have that. And then we'll have those moments of people wanting to diversify the way in which they train, to see how their body is manipulated in a different way to possibly create different results. When there is any music videos, artists, movies, commercials, Cirque du Soleil coming in town, there is also another upswing in the quest to see what pole dancing is. And this goes like from year to year. So there are some really strong popular years, like last year when Hustler came out with J-Lo. Everybody was trying to be up in here. This year, there's more interest with P Valley. In past years, when Nicole the Pole, my girl from LA, had choreographed for Rihanna for that Pull It Up video, there was an upswing. So it just really kind of just goes with the flow of what society is desiring, and any just trends in the fitness, industry.
So, I mean, so it was month 5 when you walked away from your job and you said, I'm about to be a pole instructor.
Technically it really happened that way. I was kind of doing them out, not kind of, I was doing them at the same time. There was a boss that I had at the radio station who was just not for the shits. I'm sorry. Can we do expletives? I apologize.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, tell me about this guy.
So he was not rooting for all the colors, especially the blacks. So he was working for a way to get me out, and there was a miscommunication about an event that I was working. After the event was over, a client had wanted to ask me about what was going on, about the studio in which I was working for. Offered them my card. That information got back to my boss because we're not supposed to be soliciting any of our outside ventures, which is totally understandable. But he created this unnecessary space and let me go. And it was actually a benefit because that's when I was starting to be requested to teach more classes at the studio. So even though I lost out on working at CBS, it was like a blessing in disguise because the moment I left there, it was just onward and upward in the pole realm. Yeah.
Wow. So that was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, very much so.
Man. No, that's crazy. So you talked about misconceptions. I mean, what are misconceptions of your profession?
I mean, first, like you mentioned, so I'm from Houston, Third Coast, and TNA is what we do. Like it's nothing to be at a strip club, especially if you're 18 and up. It is a welcome space for people of color and for those who are not melanated. It is the let out for any after party, whether it's a college jump off or, your 21 and up gatherings. You want some banging ass food with some, lovely entertainment on stage. But it's all about the DJ. It's about people watching and just seeing it happen. So pole dancing or the strip club was just not foreign to me. It was like, okay, this is dope. I definitely come in with $20 trying to see how much I could donate because my pockets is a little tight, but I'm definitely here to respect and honor those who are entertaining me, at the after hours. So it was a whole entertaining experience for me. I'm not sure how any other states or cities got down with their particular strip clubs, but in Houston it is a welcomed, infrastructure, if you will. So of course, being a Black girl in the pole world, especially when I came into play around 2010, the first thing that people bring to mind is, oh, so you a stripper? And I'm like, no, I actually don't have the psychology. Like my psychology is not strong enough to work in a strip club. Like those women deal with a bevy of variables in order to make it through work every day, whether that shift is 2 hours or it's 12. They got to go through things that I don't necessarily have to fight through, or they do it in a different way. So that's why I definitely give them a high regard and much respect is due to them for going ham on a stage, whether they're in a fully like clothes, like top and bottom, or if they're topless, or if they're in a nude space. So I definitely don't shy away when people ask, am I a stripper? No, they are a part of our trend now. So the modern pole that you see is definitely a derivative of what we saw and continue to see in our adult entertainment. The other thing that people will come with is like, oh, you're super strong. I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, so you can do all these tricks. Well, that's because you're small. And I'm like, well, pole, the cool thing about it, it's more technique based than it is about you being a particular size, weight, height, or previous experience of movement or athletic entities, if you will. So I'm like, you can come in there and not know your left foot from your right foot, but an amazing instructor is going to break down the information so well that you're going to be able to not only hold your body weight, but be able to make it even more functional for the curriculum that we're offering to you. And I would say, and they'll ask you like, oh, so you dance, you do all these, sports and stuff. I'm like, you really don't have to have any previous expertise of movement to come into our spaces. We literally teach you for what we're going to give you. I don't expect you to know how to pick up a dumbbell or doing some, major squats. If you were a track runner or a bicyclist or a previous dancer or a gymnast, does not matter. Literally what we're going to throw at you, you're going to have to continue that particular discipline in order to render the results that are necessary to get you through. And then also it's a major reward for you because it's immediate results rather than having to wait to see if your body has changed. It's like, no, we're trying to help you discover and find the functional movement of your body as opposed to like passive type of thing. So.
Wow, that's deep. So Chris Rock, very funny comedian. Yeah, I don't know if you heard that joke, but he was like,
No sex in the champagne room.
I mean, that's one of them. But he was saying, he's saying every father's job is to keep their father off the pole.
Keep their daughter off the pole. Yes.
Every father's job. I mean, are you? How did your family respond to your new career endeavor?
So I am considered very much a wildflower of my family. I am more artistically led, or at least the one who sought to move in that direction, i.e. why I decided to go for a communications degree as opposed to going into law or into education. And they were just always ready to see what the hell I was going to come up with for what I was going to do. So cheerleading was a thing. To be a coach was like, okay. To have moments where I would like do open mic, yes, okay. To work in radio, they're like, bet, let us know when we get a hookup. When it came to pole, my sister was like, okay. And my mom was like, so is it going to pay the bills? Like, yeah, it's cool. And once it did, she saw how happy I was. She decided to enroll in my classes. My sister's also taking classes. I've taught some of my cohort's parents, as well as some of my besties. They've been in my classes. So once everybody got into it and they started seeing me on the competitive side, and when I was able to start to do music videos, they were like, okay, that's some crystal shit.
So, I mean, is it a lucrative profession?
It can be. I do have to continue to reiterate to people that this is fitness at the end of the day. As much as we are enthralled by the dancery of it, if you will, word to Mary J. The reality is that you're working out, like you are changing the way that your body operates when working around an equipment that is stable. So therefore, whenever you're thinking about like fitness, as glorious as we may make it seem online, the reality is that this is not like the most bankable of professions unless you continue to build a very affluent clientele or consistent clientele. And every studio or every independent contractor has various rates that they offer to help them, again, afford their lifestyles.
Wow. Wow. So how long have you been doing this full time?
2010.
Since
So
2010, full time?
2010, full time.
So what has enabled you to do this full time? I mean, what do you fall on the side of? You got some balling clients? Is it the consistency? Like what has allowed you to do this full time? Because essentially that's, even if you 1099 for under a studio, I mean, you're essentially an entrepreneur.
Totally. And that's how you walk into the space. I am excited, or rather not even excited, I'm appreciative of my studio owners saying that up front. And not just on some like you're 1099, like, no, you're walking in here as someone under my space, but ultimately you are an entrepreneur. And your value is going to increase based off of how you work in these rooms and how you market yourselves. So by having the ability to be a pretty, I say, like, amazing instructor, that showcases well in my classes. So there are times when there are not high numbers, and that's just kind of the ebb and flow of fitness. And there are numbers where, you know, I got folks on wait list, and that's not just locally, but that serves whenever I'm teaching outside of my city, and whenever I'm offering workshops around the world. That's crazy to say that, Steve.
I mean, have you ever been tempted to go into being a stripper?
No, like I mentioned
Never.
earlier, no, like, look.
Because you know they do endure a lot, like you said, but I'm sure
Mhm.
that money that they getting sometimes, you know, maybe it makes that headache worth it.
Well, you know, and that's the funny part about it, is that people misconceive that all strippers are out here balling. They ain't. One, it depends on what time you're getting booked, what day of the week you're getting booked, what event is going on in your city, the marketing of your particular space, the treatment of the dancers, both by the house and by the clientele. So it's so many variables that I'm like, I would rather not have to deal with all those things. And again,
Mm.
like, my body is a vessel. I don't necessarily like to share it with everybody. Nevertheless, like, I've also been on, you know, Howard's track, you know, throwing that thing whenever Showtime Marching Band, you know, show up and show out, talking outside your neck. So it's nothing about, you know, the scantily clad wear or, you know, just dancing in front of a lot of people. Essentially, that's just performance arts. But to be vulnerable enough to literally strip myself in front of men and or women, it's just a space that I'm not strong enough to do. And I also know that I have a wealth of gifts and training that I've garnered over the years that I can utilize in a space that's during the day. And not to mention, I like to go out at night. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've bartended and I've done the night shift, and it's real cute monetarily, but I want to be out there, you know, tipping bartenders, busting the strongest of Tootsie Rolls on the dance floor. Like, I like to have a whole ass life. And I don't necessarily see at the most profitable times of the evening for dancers as something that I can, you know, sacrifice.
In this profession, like you said, you know, it can be taxing on your body,
Mhm.
you know, because even if you're doing a hour here, I mean, you probably still got a whole nother shift of people who you got to teach, and you got to be an excellent instructor. I mean, what like when in terms of like future, because essentially you're an athlete, you
Mhm.
know, and on athletes it's a shelf life on an athlete.
Yeah.
Is that something that you think about? Like, man, I can't do this when I'm 50 or 60, or can you?
Actually thought about that. I started in my late 20s, and now they're the women, because it's a heavily woman dominated space in which I work, are getting younger and younger. nevertheless, I'm a part of like the 2.0 generation of pole dancers. And the people who started out with me or right before me, they are women who are edging into their 50s. And these ladies are beasts. They are just as flexible, just as dynamic, and they're amazing to watch. So the beauty of having these women continue in this particular space well into their late 40s and into their 50s, and seeing women into the competitive spaces in their 60s, and even clients that I've had in that particular master's division, if you will. It's just amazing to see the body at work. And in this particular industry, it really does help you appreciate how the machine that is the body can continue to work for you. So when people are like, oh, well, you can't do this for so long, I'm like, would you tell that to a yogi? Like, would you tell that to a bodybuilder? Would you tell that to a dancer? No. As long as your body is willing to do the work, with you putting in the proper recovery.
So you saying you seen older women in their 50s get
beyond,
beyond their 50s or whatever, have as much demand as younger women.
Yeah, they be out here. They're in a new chapter of their life. They're like, why the hell not? Or they've been doing fitness in different spaces and they want to do something a little bit different. And this is a great way to, bust those moves out.
So that doesn't concern you at all.
Not at all. Look, I enjoy having seasoned women as clients. Like, I actually have to teach a dance party pretty soon for a young lady's 50th birthday, and we about to have a whole funky good time. I just love to hear them be excited, and to also hear their stories on where they were and me doing things in the front of the room. And they're just like, honey, I was there. I'm still here. Keep going. We ready.
So I know that you said 2 months into this, you were at a competition. Is that what it was?
No, in my 8th month of polling, I was in my first competition.
So talk to me. What is a pole competition? Like, what can I expect to see as someone who just wants to go watch?
So first of all, you're gonna see a pole. That's first thing. But there are a variety of voices that you're gonna see on stage, and what I mean by that is you're going to see those who are going to be on like a championship level, which is an all-around type of performer. So they're going to give you levels on the pole. They are going to utilize the space.
So what level are you?
I'm championship, so I'm all around.
Wow.
So
I got a champion.
You
got a champion.
Literally.
Wow. I ain't trying to brag, but yeah, I'm championship.
I mean, we out
level.
here. And they're going to give you concepts. So they're going to give you a storyline. Throughout the piece, you're going to find those who have exotic or erotic type of movement. Whoa. Yeah, so sexy side.
And how will we describe your movement, Crystal?
I'm theatrical. Okay. Meaning, like, any song that I perform to always has a message behind the movement. So if you were to follow some of my old YouTube clips of the competitions that I've been in, you'll see that there's always a story, there's always a character. I
saw it. That's how I found out about Nicole the Pole.
Yes, like that's but yeah, I'm always encouraged to leave a message with my audience, i.e. leaving a lasting impression. That's how I've always been as a mover. So that's the same way that I am on stage. You have people who perform in heels, people who don't perform in heels. You have those who just play around low on the pole.
How do they judge you? Like, is it anybody can sign up in these competitions?
Yeah. So the organization that I work for, a pole sport organization, I am the head judge wrangler, which means I run the table. I'm working on the technology of the software that we're having. So any troubleshoot issues that we have, I'm running that. I'm gathering all the judges to sit down and judge. I also judge myself. So the people who are sitting at the table primarily are people who are in the pole and aerial community, who are privy to the moves that we're doing, and they understand like concept and theory and interpretation, and they're offering their critiques to you. So you'll always have someone who, for the most part, is in the industry or knows about the movement because they're a student, an instructor, or a performer themselves. It's rare you'll be into a competition with someone who's not a part of the industry. And if you do, there's only one. Everyone else is a part of it in some aspect. And you just may have like one unbiased vote on a panel.
Wow. Okay. So talk to me about the sources of income that you've had to maybe have in order to make this thing work. So I heard you talk about the organization, which is
Whole sport organization.
Okay. So that's
So that's
one
one source of
stream.
income. Yeah.
Okay. What else we got?
I am one of the two main hosts for the International Pole Convention. So I host that on the main stage. We're actually doing our virtual one next week.
Wait. That's the what is that?
International Pole Convention.
And so that's not an annual thing that happens often?
It is annual. It was actually supposed to be held in New Orleans this year, but because of COVID, we've decided to offer a virtual concept. So it's smaller in size, but it still has the same intentions behind it. Still panels, workshops, expo room for those who want to shop, and good energy that you still get from your host with the mostest.
So you got the host, you got the judging.
Mm-hmm.
What else you said?
I was an apparel ambassador, but that particular business went out, or rather on hiatus. So that was one stream of income. I gig. So like I just got off stage with Snoop Dogg when he did 2 shows here in Texas. So I'm available for those things. I'm a part of Black Girls Pole, which is a movement for primarily Black women, but it is not exclusive. We are an inclusive group of women who want to be more seen in our aerial spaces. So with them, I teach workshops. I've also hosted retreats in a number of countries and cities with them. So that is a source of income. I have private clientele that I teach virtually right now. And yeah, I think that's it.
Wow. So I mean, did you ever see yourself as teaching dance or fitness as a career?
Totally.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Totally. Yeah.
So I know you were a cheerleading coach for a while at Howard, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what's the difference between coaching, I guess, 18 to 21-year-olds to like what you're doing right now? Because both, I would imagine, are kind of physically tasking, and then it's also competition there. But like, what's the difference?
That the older you get, the more childish you are. And I say that especially for my clients who are preparing for competition. They tend to be more, they want things immediately. And I'm like, you can't, you got to work for it. Or if I'm forcing them to dig deeper into the message that they're trying to convey on stage, they want to fight it until I start to record them, do playback, and they're just like, oh. I'm like, yeah, you can't just throw out moves just because they're cute. They gotta mean something. They gotta go with the flow, literally. So it's always funny to see them transform from this adult to a child and then work their way back up to adulthood. And then just to see also them transform emotionally, because they start very confident, you start to see them break down, and then you start to see them go through those stages to return back to confidence, even though that there is a little bit of anxiety riddled behind them. And then once it's all done, to see the reward of them perform on stage. So I do enjoy that. And that's pretty similar to us when we were cheerleading back at Howard, is to get prepared, not just for 4 quarters, but our big thing is third quarter, where like the band is fifth quarter. So it's like, all right, we about to see this school come. We got to be ready, because everybody's waiting for us to go ham to see who's got the better cheers, who's got the better stunts, who's tumbling better, who's going to engage the crowd more on each side. So you go through those same things at 6 a.m. in the morning, waking up with the girls, getting them to run around, get warm, be prepared to go through formations, to be able to literally hold each other up and, you know, have each other's backs for safety precautions, and then to build their energy up so they can give, you know, good vibes to the crowd and just enjoy themselves every week on the field to support, you know, our brothers on the turf, you know, even when we lose it.
Like, does this profession require you to always be like perky and upbeat and into character?
No. Not at all. No, not at all. I think it really just depends on the class and what you're offering. There are some spaces where it needs to be a little bit more tranquil. And so it would make sense for the instructor to resemble that and be able to offer that information. I'm a bit of a comedian in my class. It is literally Def Comedy Jam in my spaces. Even though I do refer to movements and that we're doing on and off the pole anatomically, I have a tendency to refer to sequences or intentions of movement with like pop culture, or, you know, songs, inflections of vocals, you know, throwing a body around, just making things just light and fun, because literally they're coming in that space to, you know, relieve some stress, to work out. And who wants to, you know, be in their ass all the time? Now, if we do have a class that's just strictly conditioning, you know, you may want to go ham a little bit, but ultimately I'm a cheerleader. So my passion and my energy in the front of the room is going to be lighthearted. It's going to be encouraging all the way through. Like, I literally got your back so you don't bust your ass in these moves. I mean, they can't kill you. Like, let's be for real.
Man, have you ever had a mishap?
With someone falling or getting injured in class?
Yeah, or even yourself.
I've definitely got injured. Oh, God. I've definitely had some bruised intercostals. I've definitely almost injured my rotator cuff, which is a common injury in our industry. I've, what was that? I've popped my quads before, and I've definitely stressed my subspinal area. It's beast.
So
and of course,
in
it's
this
number
field,
bruises.
I mean, like, what are you? You know, I mean, what is it like to? Because basically, if you don't work, you don't eat. Is that right?
Yep. You know it.
Man, so you gotta love something when you take that attitude.
Really? I mean, my mantra for life was to never feel like I was at work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to have a career, not a job. And as much as I enjoyed the life of radio, the space in which I was working in was not fulfilling unless I was going to create that. And when pole came into my life, it literally put everything that I've done in my life in one place. So when people are like, oh, well, you know, you went to Howard, like, well, you ain't doing nothing with your degree. I'm like, I'm a communications major with the radio or an audio production emphasis. Therefore, I am utilizing my degree wholeheartedly, not only in the classroom, but on stage and hosting my own productions here locally in Houston, being a consult for productions globally. Like, I'm out here doing everything that I said that I was going to do. It just looks different than what I planned for it to be. And that's the most interesting part. And to look up and be amazed at the fact that I'm still doing this 10 years later, I'm blessed. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's an honor to be in my space. It's an honor to be able to do what I do and to get that from a plenty of my friends from Howard and elsewhere say the same thing, that I'm doing what I love because I still want to do it, and always thinking about how can we continue to grow, flow, build, and offer things to my particular industry. So
Do you get that a lot about people saying, man, you went to Howard, you wasting your degree?
no, I never get to waste my degree. It's always like, oh, well, man, like, are you using your degree is really the question. I know a wealth of people who are in this industry who literally are doing it full time, and they are doing something completely different than what they thought they were going to do. But for those who are in the sciences, performance arts, hell, even accounting, technically you're doing okay. I have a girlfriend of mine who owns a major brand. She was kind of one of the headliners, or one of like the OG pollers. She's an engineer by trade, but everyone was just like, oh, like, are you leaving your engineering job for pole? And she was like, actually, my degree still works. She's able to break down movement in a scientific fashion. She's created equipment for our space, and she's also working on apparel, which a particular mind, is when we think about fashion, we're thinking just of those creators, but you forget that there are engineers and scientists who are actually working on textiles and structure and things of that sort. So it's always compelling for people to hear how their degrees can actually be beneficial in the pole world.
Wow, that's interesting. So, I mean, so in your world, do you like have to have, is it best practice to have like disability policies and things of that nature? Or like how do you think about retirement, even though people, dance forever? Like, is that something you actively do, save for retirement?
Yeah, like the goal has been now is to continue to build a nest egg to make sure that I maintain health coverage, and to also have my own insurance coverage. Most of our policies, because there's not a lot of insurance providers for our particular space, which is very weird. Like my particular policies were up to $1 million, and that's because at any time someone can get hurt. You can literally get hurt, just being a foot above the ground, and that's because we're dealing with head, neck, and spine. And if a person is just not paying attention, if there's just too much perspiration of the body coming through, if someone is not technically sound in their particular positioning, they can totally get hurt, regardless if I'm spotting them or otherwise. So you do have to be very cognizant of who you are as a brand and as an entity. And it is important for you also to maintain a nest egg for yourself, because you don't have corporate backing.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, you can try to build it, but that's a very small percentage.
Well, knock on wood, man. We hope that doesn't happen. What about dating? What is that like? Because I would imagine if I met a girl and she was a pole dancer, I would probably have a certain expectations or ideas of things. I mean, what's dating like for you?
I'm still single out in these streets. You know what I mean? Like, holla at your girl and stop playing. No, but I'm not single because of pole, which is really cute. I think the biggest thing is just having that conversation early. So not only that I give them an option, but I'm presenting myself with an option on if I want to deal with someone who's not progressive in thought. Essentially, I am literally a fitness instructor whose clothing is more minimal.
Pole, though. That's a
but a pole.
It takes a certain individual to be able to say, yeah, look at my baby up there. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, now if you look at my work, you definitely would be excited to proclaim me as yours. I'm beast with mine. I do what I does. I am purposeful and intentional, and I mean, folks know me. So I'm out here on a positive side. But even if I'm doing movement that's a little bit more sensual, a little bit more feminine in its direction, that does not dictate on how invaluable or the lack thereof to a relationship. I'm doing calisthenics. It's just with a pole that is vertical as opposed to horizontal. I am doing amazing, positions that, sometimes the lay man can't do. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here being Dora Milaje out here on these poles if you're really talking about it. But if I can't have someone who can't understand performance art as a totality, then I would rather not even have you invest your time in me. I'm a progressive modern woman, and what I do and what I'm related to in the performance art and fitness world, like, is an amazing feat. And if you're not strong enough to handle it, then it's totally okay. You definitely not gonna be strong enough to deal with me.
Wow. So has it presented problems?
No, well, only with my last ex, and that was like 5 years ago. But any other person I've talked
5 years?
to,
Oh man, I know you ain't been out here like that for 5 years. Come on
man,
now.
I said the same thing, Fred. But it's okay. It's been positive. Because it was me actually focusing on my career and building it and growing it and really loving on me even more so. So to
So no
not,
regrets.
yeah, no regrets. Now, maybe with
Wow.
some people who I've like dated, but that was just on some, I need to be a better communicator in relationships and just be a little less scary. But other than that, like,
So
there is,
could you be with somebody that was a stripper?
could I, like, a male stripper? I mean, if
Don't choke now.
no. I mean, I'm making sure. And I mentioned that just to be clear. I'm sorry. So I'm a heterosexual woman, so I prefer
Yeah,
men.
you can't make no assumptions these days. So
Correct. So that's why I took the pause. I was like, wait, let me get back. But if there was a gentleman who was a male dancer, whether he stripped completely naked or he basically kept on his bottoms, I mean, if he was amazing in everything on my list, then why not? Like, you're
wow,
providing a service to people, you're
wow,
presenting a fantasy. You know what I'm saying? Like, why should I be
wow.
bothered? Especially when I'm in a space where I'm creating
So no
atmosphere
double
and educating.
standard, huh?
No, I can't. Like, why would I
Mm.
be out here being a hypocrite? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't got that kind of
I-
energy. Definitely don't got that kind of
yeah,
time.
yeah. Hey, just thought I would ask.
I'm here for it.
Um.
Look, I wish other people would ask this question. It make for entertaining, evenings and
So
happy hours.
what do you think about men that enter the space of pole dancing?
I love them. I think they're so cute. I refer to them as man meat. 'Cause like I said, this is a heavily female dominated industry. And
Mm-hmm.
the one thing that men do have to recognize is that we are the majority. So don't come in here acting as if, you the man. Like, no, respect your space. Respect the places that may only allow you to come into one particular class where it's co-ed and everything else is female. Like, these spaces are intentional. They are to, again, provide tranquility, build up confidence, not just for the sake of like, oh, I just want to build up my womanhood. Like, no, people break themselves down in different ways in these classes and based on these instructions. So we want to make sure that we maintain that therapeutic entity for them. But most men who come into this space are very respectful. They know their place. For those who are heterosexual men, can benefit highly because it's a whole bunch of single women out here who ready for some heterosexual men to come at them and be able to speak the same language. So they are definitely welcome, and they are hyped up in the spaces because sometimes you need a little bit more testosterone with all the estrogen in the space. So it's good to break that down. But all of them are not heterosexual. We do have some LGBTQ plus individuals in the space, and we honor and respect them as long as you're willing to be a student, to be respectful of the space. Like, come on in, friends. It's cool.
What about, so now, in today's world,
Mm-hmm.
a man can get a sex change and be considered a woman, right?
Right. Yep.
So you go into a competition, you feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And
So yeah.
it's not gonna be a fair. I mean, you could be. I mean, men are stronger than women, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, how would you feel if you made it to the finals and it was a man there? Do you think that that's fair? To me, I draw the line when it becomes like competitive sports because I feel like men have a natural advantage over women
Mm-hmm.
in 99% of sports. They have to deal with, if it's any sport that deals with, that's heavy in strength,
Yeah.
like golf, maybe not, but like something that requires a lot of strength,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like men have a innate advantage. What are your thoughts?
So we actually, that was a big question that we had like some years ago, when we did have those particular men and women who basically wanted to cross the line. And in my particular organization, we're here for everyone, regardless of what your pronoun is. And that's how we recognize you, is how you recognize yourself. And if this is this is how you live every day, because we do go through, like your Instagram feed, we'll ask people at your studio if this is someone who actually practices this particular lifestyle every day of their life. They live, they breathe it,
Damn,
they
y'all
honor
ask all
it.
those questions.
Well, because we want to make sure that the playing field is even. Now, the question is like, oh, do I want to be competing against someone who used to be a man and now recognizing themselves as a woman? Well, the beauty of the competition that is not just strength based. There
Mm-hmm.
is technique, there's performance value, there is intention of the movement. So this is how you can balance out the scales. Just because a man is strong and can throw these 2 points of contact movements on the pole, that's great. But how well does your performance go against a female who's doing these same moves, just as precise, just as long, but more fluid, with connectivity, and with a concept that is continuous? So in our spaces, we're able to see like how, regardless if you are a man or a woman, if y'all are competing against one another, and this is more on the amateur level. If you're on the professional level, we do separate men and women. And again, it goes based on your pronouns. If your pronoun is woman, you're going to compete against the women. And please believe, in this sport, even though it is female dominated, the female are super beast. Yeah. Holistically in their performances. So to go with a man who can just do the moves and go through the motions, that's cute. But if you're not living your best life out here, we showing you up and we showing out with no regard, no
So you
questions, no
say
shame.
bring it. You say
all,
bring it.
all day.
Oh,
I'm
bring
not
it.
afraid of
Okay.
you. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So in your career, what's like the biggest high that you've
Uh,
had, or like thing you most proud of?
the fact that it enables me to see the world is what I thoroughly enjoy about the field. I've never really imagined a career that enabled me to move about not just the country, like the world, as often as I have and as quickly as I have in this particular field. And not just being able to travel, but to be recognized for what I do and how I interpret movement so much that it can break those racial barriers, or those cultural misconceptions, just by being who I am. So naturally, I have an afro, or rather, every day I normally have an afro. I have these faux locks in right now, but I'm not normally in my afro. I am very Black. The songs you hear are usually by Black artists, and they all have a message. And me going into a space like, Dublin, Ireland, or
Wow.
to Coolangatta, Australia, and being able to perform in those spaces.
So
And
these people paid you to go down there?
those are competitions that I did. So I afforded my way, fundraised to get there, took my
Okay.
titles, and then you're just able to network, build your relationships to hopefully come back or extend your stay so that you can teach and consult with others.
So you
So
do have titles.
I do.
Wow. Let's talk about those titles. So
Oh God.
what titles do you have?
Man, okay, see if I can remember off the top of my head.
Is that many?
It's a handful.
Man, so I'm talking to a champion. My bad.
Yeah, I build. I do. My first one was in Atlanta in 2010.
So when you go to these competitions, what are you winning? Like a heavyweight championship belt? Like what are you getting?
Everybody's a
Are
little
you winning
different. Every
are you
every
winning
person's
money?
different.
Are you getting endorsements?
Some,
Like what do you get?
yeah, some a little bit of everything, depending on the competition that you have. Some give um, monetary purses. Some will give you poles, because those start at around $350 at minimum, and just depending on how high you need to make it, will increase the price. There's apparel, there's endorsements, there's workshop abilities, so that you can render more money yourself. There
What's
is
like the biggest
opportunities.
purse that you've ever gotten from one of these?
I think the pole. It was a pole. It was apparel. It was the endorsement and the access to compete at another competition.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So tell me about because it couldn't I would imagine like in entrepreneurship, I'm an entrepreneur
Mm-hmm.
for the past 8 years now. I've been on my own. It ain't all easy. You know what I mean? Talk to me about some L's that you took, some losses, maybe sometimes you maybe doubted yourself, you felt like giving up and quitting.
The one thing that I have to continue to tell myself is do the work. So the Taurus in me does come through, and I have my passive moments where I don't necessarily want to post, or and not just post just movement, but particular pictures. And some of that is just because of I don't want to look like the norm. My Instagram does not just have a flood of me on the pole. You see me being extra black. You definitely see Howard all over the place. And then you'll see some movement that I do in the studio. And people are just like, well, you need to show a couple more ass shots, or, you need more like stills and professional shots. I'm like, I get that. But people invest in me because of who I am. They like the fact that I am personable and that they feel that they, have a bit of access to me. Whereas there are others that are, we just see them as an entity, and people aren't really compelled to want to make those interactions. Like, no, I'm the homie in real life, and this is what you're going to invest in. I'm not as braggadocious as people may, let on, and people say that I should be. So I'm sure I missed some opportunities by not really vocalizing on, how beast I am in my particular field. And maybe just putting a couple more submissions for different movies or videos, or like award shows. Just, pressing enter, or just throw that shit out there and just see what comes back. Those are like the three things that I think that I should, always continue to be like, just do
Well,
it.
one thing's for sure, I mean, in your profession at least, your body is always gonna be banging. You feel me?
As long as I do the work.
I mean, I'm just saying,
Yes.
as you start to hit like the mid-30s, you start to appreciate a good body. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I look at old pictures of myself like, damn, I can't believe I was skinny. You know what I mean? Same thing when you look at our classmates. You like, ooh, you know what I'm saying? You might want to
Now,
get in my pro class.
n-
You may
n-
want to get in my class.
now, and it's so funny because there's one homecoming one year, and one of my classmates from '05 was like, yo, man, Crystal, like, you still looking like you out here, all, about to go cheer on the track. And I'm like, yeah. He was like, you filled out a little bit, differently. And I'm like, I appreciate it. These muscles coming out. But he was like, yo, like, real talk, I'm gonna need to like get your information so I can, book my wife a private. Like, is that inappropriate? I'm like, no, like, you got my info, hit me up. let's link with her directly and let's get to pushing. And I'm appreciative of that. Like, I care so much more about my body today than I ever did. The things that I've learned in this particular field over the past 10 years, man, if I knew majority of the information that I knew now back then, oh my gosh, I could be stupid out here just on a physical realm. You know what I'm saying? So I love the fact that I care.
Diet too?
No,
No.
I am mindful. I'm not a big diet person. I am naturally petite because I've always been an active child, and it's the same way as an adult. I've always been a bird eater, so I don't eat everything in one helping. I tend to eat over time. I listen to my body. When it wants what it wants, I'm going to give it to it. I am iron deficient. I think I'm just part of that generation that's anemic. I was born in 83. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, my body will crave red meat when it's feeling iron deficient or it needs a heavier protein. And then there's other times where I just kind of want to veg out. So my body works that way because I burn so much throughout the course of a week. Now, that doesn't necessarily work for everybody else because our anatomies are completely different. Our genetics are set up in such a way. But I am grateful for the fact that I can still, eat what I want. But it really is based on, like, what is my body asking for and the needs of it to keep going on.
What was it like working with Snoop? How did that opportunity come?
Oh, it's cool. This is the second time that I've had the opportunity to perform with him. The first time was in 2017 in New Mexico. And this time I got to do it twice in the state of Texas. This time was really interesting because we're under COVID restrictions. So they were really testing out what future outside festivals may look like. So you were able to see, like, out in the audience, the barricades, the separation of people, how the, like that little mosh pit area in the front of the stage is usually like right at the stage. Now they're about, 20 or so feet away from you, to see people with masks on, like, panned out to the side, and then see, a couple people, stacked in front with masks off and just living their life. But outside of that, it's really good. Like, Snoop, when they say he is an uncle, he is very much an uncle at your family reunion who had a couple blunts and a good couple drinks, and he's just DJing his set backstage. And he's just easy. He's personable. He's just in the groove. You know what I mean? Just having a good time with his extended family, co-workers and friends that are in the space. You cannot burst that bubble. On stage, it's amazing. One, because, I'm a child of Snoop, so all his music is extra hype for me. When I'm working, I'm usually one of the older people on the stage. So working with the youngins to be like, I don't know this song. I'm like, are you serious? Psh, my two-step be hella strong walking to the pole. It is exhausting because he wants us to be more aerial. So with that, even the most devout professional will still get winded because you're just like, man, I'm going hard for 3 minutes, but I got to stay on the pole the entire time, as opposed to, like, coming down and having some floor work and doing, like, bass tricks and stuff like that. But overall, like, this last one, and even being with Nelly, with him on this particular tour, it was just family oriented. You never feel as if you're less than yourself or are being, preyed upon. Like, no, the energy is good. Everybody's hella professional and responsible on the space. And it's literally just people in my particular field who have the connections to be like, yo, we have a show going on. Are you available? Can you come through? I'm like, I got time. It's COVID. What we doing?
So, I mean, what songs are you up there on the pole doing?
It's we did some of the same songs and then they kind of changed. I think with any music artist, for the most part, especially if they're in the beginning of their shows, or hell, even just about to blow the wind, sometimes they want to flip a track. Those music sets can change on a whim, and that definitely did happen to us from Friday night to Saturday night. But I got to perform on Gin and Juice, Ain't No Fun, Drop It Like It's Hot, Sensual Seduction.
So, I mean, are you, because, Nelly got the Tip Drill song and Snoop got, some very, songs that some might say are disrespectful to women. I mean,
Mhm.
is it would it bother you if those songs were played while you on the pole?
I mean, essentially they did. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
Ain't No Fun was playing, while you on the pole. And I mean, if you're not a Snoop fan, Ain't No Fun if the homies can't have none.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a derogatory track, but it's also a nostalgic space. You know what I'm saying? Like some of these things are it is what it is. Like, I mean, if someone had the opportunity to perform with, Uncle Luke and Two Live Crew, are you gonna like not perform when he's, let me see you touch the ground? Like, that was just what we were doing back then. Is it, the most positive in his lyrics? Not necessarily. But, I come from that ancestral line where that percussion is on a whole nother level, and it just takes you back to a space where, you were literally just out there for the feels of the music and not necessarily always for the lyricism. And these are grown men. They know what they were saying back then. They know what headspace they were in. They also understand like, the fun and the strengths in these particular tracks and what they offer to their listeners and their fans on stage. So I don't necessarily go in with the, femininity thing. Like, no, if I sign up for this gig, I know exactly what I'm walking into. I know the tracks that may be played for me to get on the stage. I know the energy that I got to put out on in order to enhance their particular performance. So, I mean, I was with it. Now, if somebody coming up with too many, bitches and hoes, and N words, and things are a little bit more derogatory now, then yeah, I'm gonna just opt out of that particular gig.
Welcome to the Goldfish Village podcast. As a Chinese proverb says, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. At Goldfish, our goal is to teach individuals just like you how to build wealth through real estate. What advice would you have for somebody that's coming into Howard, the 18-year-old Crystal, coming into Howard from Houston, Texas? They want
Mhm.
to get the best out of that experience. What advice do you have for that person?
Oh man, what would I tell myself? First, stop second guessing yourself.
Mm.
That's one. There were so many uh,
Second guessing yourself is
second guessing. I
that
still
don't
do
sound
it to
like
this
you.
day.
That
It
don't sound
don't,
like
but it
you.
is. It still happens. you know.
How so?
Um,
Talk to me about that.
okay, and this, as trivial as it is, like my freshman year, I think freshman and sophomore year, University of Maryland's, I think either football or basketball team, maybe football one year and basketball the other, had won the championship. And everybody from the quad and from the campus was like, yo, we going to University of Maryland. We're going to go act full, with the whites, go do what white people do. I was like, oh, I should go. But then I also worked intramurals, and I worked intramurals for the gym and not for Blackburn. So I think this was like a Friday night, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like indoor soccer or something. And I had to close. All I had to do was ask my boss, was like, yo, would you mind if I not close tonight and go to this? Because he was watching it, throughout the week as well. He totally would have said yes. And I didn't take the opportunity to just get my ass up and go experience University of Maryland, even though my first couple weeks at Howard, my roommate was from Michigan, and her mom worked for the University of Michigan, so I got to see the Ohio versus Michigan game at Michigan. So I'm like, if I said yes to that, then why the hell wouldn't I say yes to going to act ass at University of Maryland? Not once, but twice. I said hell no. So it's like little moments like that where I'm just like, dang it, if I just stop second guessing yourself and just get your ass up and just go do it.
Mm.
And of course, there's the same thing with, particular organizations on campus or particular jobs that I did not continue to go out for because I didn't necessarily look at myself on paper. I was kind of just going in my mind and looking at the statistics of like, oh, well, this is happening, this is them, they're gonna want that, blah, 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 as opposed to just putting an emphasis on myself and being like, but yo, you are that individual. Go ahead, put your name out there. The worst somebody could say is no. And so to combat that, when I did finally continue to invest in myself, I became the step show coordinator for 2003, and we were the first one to step off campus in such a major space. So we were in the National Convention Center off of M Street, and this is when they were first opening, and they never had a college host an event to our caliber in that space. And to see how amazing it was, I'm just like, yo, we would have never gotten here if you would not have taken a chance on yourself. And then, of course, with, Phi Sig, I went out the first year, didn't make it, but still had that, passion in my heart, came out the second time and I made it. So, little things like that, or being the only freshman cheerleader chosen my year with a bunch of vets. So the time I actually came on was my sophomore year, even though I got chosen my freshman year. That was hell on wheels, but it was an amazing experience because I proved my worth. Everyone knew how much of an asset I was, and it made for a phenomenal and extraordinary experience. So, yeah. So stop second guessing myself and invest in yourself. You're gonna be all right.
Man, I never knew that. So it sounds like you got some regrets from undergrad.
Some are definitely growing pains. Very minimal regrets. I'm mindful not to really use that word because I take away what a missed opportunity did a lot for me. So yes, I got fired from CBS Radio, but I was able to build a going on 10 plus career in pole that would take me globally and have my name in people's mouths in a less than 6 degrees of separation. You know what I'm saying? So
when you go into these competitions like overseas, you're traveling by yourself?
For the most part, I do, try to reach out to expats of the Bison community to see who is out there because we are everywhere. And I'll definitely also extend out to other polars in the space who don't mind, taking me on. So yeah, I use my network to get out there, but usually these are solo trips.
You were in Phi Sig, you were a cheerleader, Texas Club historian, from what I read.
Yeah.
Any other organizations?
Homecoming Steering Committee. So I was that step show coordinator and student government. So I worked with alumni relations for the administration under Frida and Conrad, which was so fun. And then I worked intramurals on campus. So
I think I worked in the murals as well. I was a ref.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
that was
loved
fun.
intramurals. Man, look, as much as it may have been a haze for social life, working in intramurals, if you were on the gym side, man, you had access to everyone. Okay, I knew hella shit going on in the background, and it was just good to see just so many people come through. So people you might never come in contact with, but if they're coming through for basketball, for flag football, for soccer, for volleyball, like you just get to see all kind of people come through, and those who were athletes, and then just the regular students on undergraduate and graduate side. So it was a smorgasbord of eye candy going on around there, as well as the shade room.
50 years from now, man, what are people saying about CryStylez Belcher?
The thing I always wanted to be, and not necessarily likened to a particular profession, but the type of person that I was. I'm happy that I've created pieces in the pole space that continue to resonate so heavily and so profoundly in people. And that's how I will continue to want to be. I want to be able to leave such a lasting impression that it forces people to receive information, especially on a performance scale, in such a way that it makes them question where they are, where they've been, and where they're going. And then next to that, just a person who's going to continue to enhance other people's visions in what they want to do, and continue just to be good energy. Like I'm a giver, I'm a nurturer naturally, and I'm excited to continue to offer that to others, both in a professional and a platonic space.
So how can people want to follow you or get in touch with you, or sign up for one of your classes? How can we do all of that?
So you can still currently find me teaching virtually. I'll start practicing some in studio and one-on-ones in person with you all, but you can find me definitely on the gram at It's the CDB. That's ITSTHE CDB, as in Charlie Delta Bravo, or Cat Dog Boy, as I like to say. On Facebook as Crystal Belcher or Crystal Belcher Poll. You can find me on my website at cdbartistry.com. It's under construction, but you can still reach me, via Gmail, Instagram, the Facebook links, the link tree.
See what you remember. So first question, just in regards to some Howard trivia. What year was Howard founded?
1867.
There you go. There you go. Man, doesn't get any easier than that.
Oh, come on. All right.
What is the Howard motto?
Shoot. Something for the global community. See, I told you. Dang it. I forgot. I can't Google. My phone's not by me.
It's truth and service.
Truth and service. Look at that. Dang it.
Yeah, global community, truth and service. You're close.
I got one part, a little bit of it.
There you go.
Okay.
See, we got how do you spell Crampton?
CRAMTON.
Oh, good job.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
And there are many times in line.
What can you finish this sentence? Reared against the eastern sky.
Proudly there on a hilltop high.
Oh, very good. Very good. What is the body of water located closest to Howard?
The reservoir?
The reservoir. Very good.
Okay.
Very good. Very good. Who is the current president of Howard?
Dr. Wayne L. Fredericks.
Wow. Very good again. Very
His
good.
His brother was my coworker. He was my first Caribbean friend on campus. Shout out to Hillary. Hillary Hill. It's my first Trini friend. Yeah.
How many schools and colleges does Howard have?
Ooh, don't play me. I can't. Don't even let me lie to you, friend.
Wow. He does not know that one.
I don't. I apologize.
What is the zip code of Howard?
Starts with a 2.
Starts with 2. You're getting warm.
Starts 2. I feel like there are 2 zeros that follow it. Can't get those last ones. But it definitely does start with a 2.
20059. And did you live in the quad or the annex?
Quad. Come on, Baldwin, 4th floor.
Halls in the quad. What are the halls in the quad?
There is Truth, Crandall, Baldwin, Whitley, and Frazier.
Wow. Very good. Very good. Finish this one. I'm so glad I go to Howard U.
I'm so glad I go to Howard U. Let me repeat. Go to Howard U. And not a white school. Yeah.
Okay. What is the Black National Anthem?
Lift every voice and sing.
Very good. Okay, let's do some rapid fire real quick.
Okay.
Drew Hall or Carver?
I'm gonna go with Carver. Those homies.
Never heard anyone say that ever.
Yeah.
Wow. It must have went down. Okay.
Not even.
Is it would you say who you know or what you know?
Who you know.
Is homecoming better as an alum or as a student?
As an alum. Woo! Okay, I'm sorry. Turn myself down. as an alum, it feels so different. I feel like you are not just certified, you're verified once you have that alumni stamp on your back. You're just regarded as this giant on campus. Yeah.
Okay. Howard men don't cheat.
Next question.
Were you ever in a relationship on campus?
Not an official one.
Oh, you was in a entanglement.
Yeah, no, I'm not
No,
gonna even use the word.
situationship.
No, I was definitely in some situationships. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Carver wasn't that good. So let's see. When did you find your voice?
So, dang. I was at Howard for 5 years. So that 5th year, I think, was the year of ownership of self. And it was also one of my most trying years. So that 5th year was definitely the year of truly being molded.
Why was it so trying? What was tough about the 5th year? You were a seasoned vet by then.
But I was one of those who, and luckily I had 2 homies who was on that road with me on their 5th year, where, we ducked off. We literally had blinders on and was just going straight to class, dealing with our organizations, did our work, went to work, rinse, repeat. Just trying to, going back and forth through housing, just being a little bit more dependent on myself because there were things that were going on at home fiscally that I couldn't help, nor could they help me on. So I really grew up in year 5. And I see her, and I'm appreciative of her today because she's helped me get to where I
am. Speak on it, girl. Speak on it. So, when did you realize you were the shit?
I'm still trying to figure that shit out.
Still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I let people tell it for me.
Wow.
Which is,
okay.
Give me your testimony.
That's a boss statement right there. Damn, you got receipts, huh?
I got
witnesses
receipts.
And receipts. Wow.
Yeah, but the work is never done. So
the work is never done, huh? Okay, I see you, baby girl. So, you got to start one, cut one, and bench one. You got freshman orientation, homecoming, and graduation.
And say the options again.
You got to start one, bench one, cut one.
Start, bench, and cut one. And we said orientation, graduation, and what else?
Homecoming.
Oh, that's unfair. Oh gosh. No. If I was a student of today, I would cut freshman orientation. But the orientation in which I had in front of Frederick Hall, oh man, y'all missed the moment. That was an anointing. So if modern day, if I had to cut, I would cut the modern freshman orientation. Start. What's the last one? Start, and what's the other one?
Start, bench, and cut.
Start, bench. Dang it. Oh, bench, graduation, start, homecoming. I mean, we already sitting down at graduation anyway, so I mean, if you want to be on a technical aspect, sit down at graduation. Start, homecoming. Because homecoming is the situation. It's just that affirmation and that confirmation that you were where you were supposed to be, and you were a part of what you were supposed to be with, or be part of. So maybe that.
Man, got deep on me for a little bit.
A little philosophical. Just,
so if you weren't doing your current career, what would you be doing?
I think I would be in education.
Well, you are in education.
I am, but I would want to, and I think it's still still a thought of mine, to be in a vocational space. I would really love to teach a principles of speech or a communication-based class, because I really feel that a wealth of people in industries just don't communicate well enough. And that is a class that I actually enjoyed, or the many variables of the classes that I enjoyed in college just were based on the art of communicating. And I can see how that's still a necessity in today's world, both verbally, non-verbally, and in written spaces. So, yeah.
What was your lowest moment?
What was my lowest moment? Oh, okay. I think this was the summer of 2006. I decided to stay in DC because I wasn't compelled to come home as of yet. And it it started this, I want to say 6 months, almost a year of unemployment. Only income I was getting was from bartending and from being a coach for the cheerleaders, which both weren't necessarily bringing in a lot of money, and my car was acting out. So I really had to depend on friends. And luckily, because of my fraternity brothers with Phi Sigma Pi, I was allowed to stay on their couch for an extended period of months. And one of my brothers took me out to McCormick and Schmick's happy hour. And I'm like, I can't afford it. And they were like, did anyone ask you? And I'm like, I really can't afford it. I just don't want to do this. And they were just like, if you don't get your ass up and let's go. And once we were there enjoying life and enjoying space, they continued to, build me up and say, yo, what you're going through is not abnormal. And it doesn't speak to the caliber of an individual that you are. It's just going to take a little time, and we're here to help you on your journey. And even though I had like little bouts of house hopping during the years at Howard, this was one time where I was like literally for 6 months, I was without a job, and my mom was like telling me, keep coming home. And I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm not done. And it was because of those housemates who opened up their space to me, and just encouraged me to keep pushing, that I eventually found a job with a Howard alum, and, kept continuing to build me up to be the strong, encouraging individual that I am today. So, I had a heavy down, but it brought me way up.
Wow. That's a hell of a testimony. Shout out to Phi Sig, the big brothers. Rest in peace, Phi Sig, man.
Yo, man, brothers are we still out here. Like,
man, rest in peace, Phi Sig.
Rest in peace.
Man, so Crystal, you've been a great guest. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I'm honored. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to everyone, especially to
gotta have pole dancers. I would be remiss.
Yo, you gotta come see these shows next time we're in Chicago.
Show, man. I'm gonna come, man. Come. Is it bad? Do people tip pole dancers, or is that?
Whenever we have like private shows, like whenever they're like going out in spaces, of course, like definitely tip your performers, tip your dancers, tip your strippers, just like you tip your bartenders and your servers. But when we're like in competitive spaces, nah. No, but you can sponsor. So if your organization or your business would like to, sponsor gifts to these performance and athletic artists, then you totally can invest in us in that space as well.
Wow. That's dope, man. I'm learning something new every day. Thank you for joining the HU Movemaker podcast, where we highlight folks that have contributed to the Howard legacy at the highest levels. To hear more interviews or purchase merchandise, please visit www.humovemakers.com.